Thank you. Calling the meeting of June 12th, Newmarket Conservation Commission meeting to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I did hear from Jess Can as well as Zach Angelini. They cannot be here tonight. So let's go with the roll call. Ellen Snyder. Here. Brian Ward.
Here.
Julie Tyson. We still say Tyson?
Yes.
Okay.
Here.
She's here. Chris Blackstone. I'm here. Jeff?
Present.
Jeff's here. And Emma, our student rep?
Here.
She's here. All right. And I do want to point out that Bridget, who has been taking notes for us from the planner office, is not here tonight. She's going to be doing the notes again for us from home. And I want to put it out there that Bart has said he's going to put an ad together to look for, solicit somebody to do the job of note-taking. So if anybody here or anybody who sees this tape later imagines somebody might like that, it is a paid position. And I also wanted to point out that the minutes don't have to be taken and printed in the way that they have been. It can revert to a narrative style, a bullet style, or any other style if people are concerned about the format that looks formal or foreboding to take notes in as they are now. So we're rooting for Bart's ad to net somebody. In the meantime, Bridget will be doing it occasionally from home or from this office, but it's to be determined between Bridget and Bart where she is and when she's doing it. Do we have any public comment? Okay, seeing none, let's move to approval of the minutes. The minutes would be those of May 8th.
I can't make it.
I found 3 things. Did anybody else find anything, or shall I list the 3 I got? Okay, they are probably grammatical-ish or typo in nature. On the item that talks about the UNH capstone, line 2, there's too many that's. Locations outside of that were identified, so locations outside of that which were identified. Then there's another one under events, outreach, and education, line 9. There was some other junk items that were found on the conservation land. There were some other items, or there were some other junk items, but the was needs to be a were. And at the very bottom, another one, it's technical or small-ish, but mill space should be capitalized. Those are the 3 corrections I found. Anybody else found any to mention or talk about or wonder about?
Motion to accept as amended.
Is there a second to the accept as amended?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's passed. These minutes are good with those corrections. Okay, correspondence for the Commission's consideration tonight. We have 2 things that came in as correspondence, and both of them actually, because we have a quorum now, we could do take action on these. This is from a Susan, and sorry, Susan, if you're listening, Genet or Gionet, Gionet, I'm not sure how she pronounces it, I'm sorry. Good morning, Chris, I hope you're doing well. I came across this beautiful lady laying more eggs on Lady Slipper Drive, and she includes, for the record, a nice turtle picture. One of the residents there said she's been doing this for over 20 years. This is very cool. Unfortunately, many of her babies don't make it across because the cars in the neighborhood squish them. Is it possible to put the turtle crossing lines and a turtle crossing sign there? I will see you at the next book club meeting, Susan. So she is part of the library club talk that we have. So I'm wondering, I think putting the lines there is a bit more extensive than what we can do or offer. I'm not sure that's the right tack to move forward with her suggestion, but I would like us to further the discussion or take action, suggest action on putting a turtle crossing sign, the ones that have the hinges that flip up there. Since getting this, it seems like I've seen 3 more that I wasn't aware of before, namely close to the Alice Drive, there's one, there's a few in town. So maybe, Jeff, do you remember anything historically about who bought them? I'm assuming they're always installed by DPW, but
So DPW installs them and takes them down every year.
takes them down or flips them up and down?
From our experience, they take them down and don't do the flip.
Oh, okay.
I know a couple of them had hinges
Mhm.
installed by the commission after. I think someone cut them in half and put some piano hinges on them.
Mm-hmm.
New Hampshire Fish and Game gave us some of them, and we purchased some.
We, Conservation Commission, purchased them.
Yes, the Conservation Commission purchased some. Ellen had reached out to myself and Drew, and I know that if I have some ancient emails
Yeah.
on my. in
Well,
my
this is the
account.
sign here. These cost about $28 a piece.
Oh,
And I did notice today there's one on Grant on my side that is not hinged, and so they must, and I don't remember
Yeah,
being up there,
they're-
so they do take them up and down.
Yeah, they do actually, that's why it's like, call DPW and
So we
ask
don't
them to
need to hinge
install
them.
them. And there's one on Ash Swamp up by the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
That's like
Yes.
the one with the, people say the cute turtles
Oh,
from
yeah.
it, you
Yeah,
know,
you
like
can
there's
get-
like a baby turtle and a big one.
We can
And
get
so
those.
like people love that one, but so everyone's surprised it didn't get stolen, but so that's, call Rick in April and say,
Mhm.
hey, can you put the signs up? But lately, I think they've been doing it without prompt.
Yeah, he said they put them up in May and take them down in November.
that's appropriate.
Yeah, we decided the hinged ones were kind of funky because when they fold down, they're super bright. So if people see
There's a
that
glare.
bright triangle at night,
Yeah.
it'd be kind of funky on the side of the road.
And it cuts the turtle in half, like.
Yeah, it does. It puts the line through the turtle, exactly. And you can't put the hinge on the backside because the
Yeah.
post is there, so the hinge has to be on the front side.
Quickly, this letter, where was she said, where was this?
Lady Slipper Drive,
Lady Slipper, okay.
yes.
Yeah, which is the big wetland. I mean, it goes down, I assume it's where it severs the big wetland on each side. Down
I
toward the
think
golf
so.
course, essentially,
Yeah.
right? It's probably not a bad spot.
It's across
So you
the
need
street
two
from my house.
you need two per site, because you have. to
Right, the
have
coming and the going.
Going, presumably.
It should be a really low speed area already.
I know.
Not saying that makes people miss the turtles, I'm just saying like I don't know that striping would be,
Yeah, I don't think we're doing striping anywhere else besides our swamp at this point.
What I understand of it is, the whole theory behind it is as long as it's like rare to have the striping, people will slow down, but if it's like everywhere, people like.
You get immune to the stripe.
Yeah, yeah, so, yeah, I think a sign would probably be fine, but I don't think we're gonna do more striping, so.
I also feel that if we go ahead and say yes and do whatever we do, have whatever discussion leads to a culminating event here, we have the capacity to do something. We don't have the capacity to say, oh, yes, and we want maintenance striping. But we could take action, I believe, and get some signs up and running pretty easily and pretty quickly, since we're burning into the season of the turtles crossing the road anyway.
do you think DPW would install them for us?
Yeah, I think they would. I just don't know if we have to buy the posts as well.
We did.
Did you guys buy the posts? They have a lot of posts.
I can't remember.
They have a lot of posts, whether they have the right size, I think would be up to them. I think they would install it for us if we bought the signs.
Yeah, they installed them last time for us, I just didn't want to speak for them. It's like,
I think
Right.
they would.
Yeah.
So, what I'm hearing is interface with Rick as DPW to find out if they have posts, and then who actually goes and buys the actual sign. What are we actually asking for? Or do we have money to say, we, as we've done in the past, there's a precedent there, the Conservation Commission bought the signs.
Yeah, I think we buy the signs.
I think we buy the signs and they...
They install them.
And they install them.
Yeah, we definitely bought them last time, because I
Yeah.
remember bringing them over to DPW,
Oh,
and
nice.
handing them to Rick.
Nice,
So,
Yeah.
some of them.
nice.
There's probably shipping, so
Are those the bigger ones? Or is that
I think
this
those are
one?
18-inch. Is that how big they are, 18
I
inches?
feel like they're
Bigger?
I think the one over by the golf course might be 18 inches, but I think the other ones might be bigger than that.
Bigger, I didn't measure.
I mean, 18 inches is only like that big, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they're,
I guess it depends on what you're driving and how fast you're going.
On that little road, that's such a slow little, I think the
I know.
small ones would be adequate.
I think it would
there.
be adequate there.
It's not like people are going 40 like they are on Ash Swamp Road.
And the question is, do you need one there too, because it's a dead end, right? It's not a through road where we're talking about, it's, people are living there, are they going down? So they're the only.
Seeing it and coming back, you mean?
Did they need the signs both ways? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think that's a good policy to keep in place
Yeah.
without having to do, traffic pattern studies and whatnot.
It reminds people.
It's short money.
Yeah, okay.
You might try putting up a sign that says baby turtle crossing, that would probably slow down. That would definitely probably slow a lot more
Do
people.
you think people like the baby turtle one better?
I mean, people have commented on the baby one to me. I mean, so I don't know.
Maybe they'll see it, like, people do like baby
Yeah,
animals.
They'll be like, oh, that's so cute. What was that noise?
Say, if they're gonna swerve and hit a turtle, they're probably gonna swerve and hit no matter what age.
Okay, true confession, I see something in the road, oh my God, a turtle, I got to save one. Now, here's my second one, I'm kind of amped, I'm pretty excited, I'm acting real cool, flashers pull over, da-ga-da-ga-da. I walk up, and as I approach it, it is a leather garden glove. So you know how they get kind of stiff and sweaty, and there's this garden glove, and it's got, it's got a neck sticking up. Bent a little bit.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I break for garden gloves.
Definitely had some people moving turtles the other day, and traffic was
Yeah,
stopped.
they're on the
and
move. You gotta
People
find
were
these
waving
turtles,
and
aren't
yelling to each other, I got it.
It's peeing, it's peeing. So, should we, given that they're shipping and handling, whatever, is it prudent to say, okay, we're going to address lady slipper and then get another set in the bank in case we have something comes to mind and want another one up? Because my suspicion is, a happy one, I believe that somebody from Lady Slipper is going to say, hey, we just got our turtle crossing sign, and that's going to be somebody else says, my neighborhood needs one too. So having one on the bench, as we say, I think could be handy and short money.
Do you know how many sets you've put up? I can't remember how many there are out there.
There were 4.
Ash Swamp, Grant Road,
Bay Road,
Bay Road.
and
Are you calling Grant Road the corner by Alice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Only one
it's
set,
7
huh?
signs up then, counting the 3rd on Ash Swamp by the golf course.
Is there just one there, on one way,
It's just one
Should we
as you're
get one?
headed west.
going the other way?
There's not one going the other way.
So we might need one more for that.
That one is weird though, because the reason we asked to have that one put up is because there was a Blandings that was hit way up there by the golf course. And we actually found what do you call it? Box turtle up there as well.
And I've helped to paint it out there too, so they
Yeah,
are.
so I hit painted there too. And then, like, they're almost present all along through there. Because there's wetlands here and there on the either side of the road. It's actually an enormous black tupelo over there, near the long dirt driveway on the south side of the road.
Yes, he's
but-
visited my house before.
What's that?
He's visited my house
Is that
before.
one of the turtles?
Yeah,
Aw.
I live right there, so like,
Oh.
they're always in my backyard, because I have a huge hill in the background. It's all wetlands right behind
Oh,
me.
get us a picture, Emma. You don't
I'll
have
try
to
my
have a
best.
picture identifying anything about your house, but just, collecting some turtle pics could be fun.
You're practically
Brought to you
neighbor.
by our student representative. Look at your PR for your high school, for you representing us.
Yeah, so I don't know, because it's like almost like that, the one by the bend at the golf course is like a precursor to
Yeah.
the next set.
Yeah,
That's
true.
like but it is about, it's about 0.6 of a mile, maybe, or a little less. It's about a half mile maybe from the one top of the hill before you go down.
Well, what
But
do
there
we
was-
think?
no, I thought there was 2 more in Ash Swamp. Are there
On the
some
other
down
end?
past the dump?
There might be.
I think there were 2 at the crossing. Total.
So what if we buy 4 more, and like I say, we have a couple extra?
I would say 5, so you can put one where you only have one going one direction.
Well, I think he's saying, you're saying we probably don't need another one, because there's,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you could. It's between that sign and between the one that faces east by the golf course and the next one that would warn someone that's headed east, one that faces west. That's probably 3/4 of a mile, because it's like just past, like.
well, maybe it would get him to slow down twice, keep going slow.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Okay.
hurt,
All right.
probably.
So 5. And we're not sure of the size though, so, but $200 should be sufficient, right, for 5 signs?
Well, 30, 60.
They're 25
yeah.
each, I think.
Yeah, just in case they're shipping, and then if they're doing a bigger one, more money. You always like to say up to, because that way, you don't
Yeah,
have to come back.
yeah.
But I can order them once I know if Rick is good to put them up.
So,
Yeah, do we want to approve money for posts just in case, or do we want to assume the town has posts and hardware? They don't need bolts.
Yeah, but those fence posts are hard to find, they're expensive. And
Those,
they're-
yeah, those ones.
They're hard to
like
find, the ones they use, and I
municipal
think they'd
grade.
want to use the ones they like to put up, so.
I don't know if they'll maybe they'll back charge us.
Well, we can
if
still
they
order the
need-
signs, and if we have to
like,
come back
yeah.
next month and order the posts.
Yeah,
we can
There
do
you
that.
go.
exactly, and if DPW says we installed them, they're $25 each, give us,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if they can do that, but
There you go. So do we have a motion, since it's spending money, to approve a motion to buy turtle signs?
I'll make a motion to buy turtle signs up to $200.
Second?
Second?
Okay, motion by Julie, second by Ellen. Any other discussion about the turtle signs, ordering 5 of our $200 worth? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Susan. I will give an email to Susan and let her know that action is
taken on the email.
do we still have a line item for supplies in the town budget?
We do, we've used it, but we're also, I think we've missed the deadline to submit any expenditures,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, their
this
year
fiscal year?
closes the 30th.
but we could take them out of next year's fiscal year.
I was just thinking of something, we often had line items that we didn't expend. so I
Yeah,
didn't think there was
we didn't
anything
expend
that-
a lot of this part-time salary. But
Anything that could
we've
fit
already
into-
been shifting,
Yeah.
we've been taking from different pots.
So
But
that's
we
from
could
the
take them
cons-
from next.
That's from the conservation fund then.
Well, we wouldn't get reimbursed, I wouldn't get reimbursed till July, so it would come out of next year's budget, so we could take them from the supply line out of next year's budget.
Yeah.
It's just a thought. In case of dipping, instead of dipping into the conservation fund if we don't
Yeah.
have to. You may have to buy some supplies if you need it.
Can we use Turtlefest money?
Absolutely. I mean, that's in our conservation fund, so,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but that's a good, to get back to our sponsors, to say, hey, we bought 4 more turtle signs.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. All right,
5 turtle signs. 4
5 turtle signs.
Yeah, 5 turtle signs. Thank you.
All right,
Second correspondence that I believe we can also have some discussion and perhaps take some action tonight comes from Lizzie Franceschini. I'll read it as I received it for the record. Good morning, Chris. I'm reaching out to the Newmarket Conservation Commission to see if the commission would provide a $275 scholarship for one Newmarket child to attend Camp Atlas at Selt. This year at Camp Atlas, we are providing more scholarships than before. 14 of our 40 campers will be here on scholarship, including 3 full scholarships. We're thrilled to provide this opportunity, but we're also thinking creatively about how to fill the budget gap created by such a large scholarship need. Camp Atlas is unique in that it offers high-quality outdoor adventure programming at price points that are accessible to all members of our community. We offer tiered pricing, with a week of camp costing anywhere from $0 to $350 depending on family income. Camp Atlas gives the magic of camp to children who otherwise would not be able to afford it. We introduce these children to new outdoor adventure experiences with the end goal of helping them fall in love with the outdoors so they grow up to be the next generation of conservationists. Last summer, 88% of our campers got to try a new outdoor activity, including kayaking, picnicking at Newmarket's own Sliding Rock Conservation Area. We have several children from Newmarket attending camp, including one who will need a $275 scholarship. With a nonprofit sponsorship to provide this needed scholarship, Newmarket Conservation Commission logo could appear on our camp shirt and on our camp website. Additionally, the Newmarket Conservation Commission will be included in Camp Atlas media and posts and articles. I'd be happy to connect with you or other members of the commission to answer any questions you might have about providing such a scholarship. Thank you so much for considering. She signs it warmly, Lizzie. So I let her know I would read this into the record and that we would talk about it tonight. I thought her description was thorough enough that we didn't need more description from her. She's got the number of kids involved, the amount of money involved, the fact that it's sliding scale, but with $275, a Newmarket child would be able to attend this camp and get these experiences offered through Selt. I would also point out that Lizzie is has been a certified teacher working with various grade levels, and she currently serves in Selt as the outdoor education specialist. So she's quite used to leading Friday walks with caregivers and little kids, and she does programming for older age children, students, and whatnot. So I think we'd be in good hands offering $275 for a camp scholarship. Discussion, questions? And if you're wondering, the only reason this is what I read, and these are the 2 printouts that did not work, but I just kept them all together just because I did.
yeah, I mean, their camp is highly respected, and they're a good partner of ours, so it seems like a good, worthy cause. I know we've moved away from scholarships before, but this this seems sort of in line with our,
Yeah, this
mission and-
reels the scholarship money right back to what some of our goals are as a conservation group. I was also thought it was quite gracious that they said that they could include the word Newmarket Conservation on their broadcast media, social media, and on the t-shirts, so. Any other discussion? Do I have a motion or any other ideas about offering the $275 to SELT for Camp Atlas?
I'll make a motion to approve that funding from the Conservation Fund, $275 for camp.
Thank you, Ellen. And any second for Ellen's motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Julie seconds the motion. Any further discussion about $275 to Camp Atlas Scholarship? All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous, and I will send Lizzie an email letting her know that we voted on it and voted on it tonight, and she can count on that. Ellen, as treasurer, can do the interface to figure out how to actually get them said money. Thank you, Ellen. Okay, the next thing here, how about calling on Ellen for your treasurer's report?
Okay, so the Conservation Fund has $134,401.92. The Shanda Fund still has $4,621.11, so the total is $139,023.03. Okay, so in May, we got interest as usual. No additional current use. We sold t-shirts in April, but we sold in May Turtlefest t-shirts worth $2,319. And we got the grant payment from the Great Bay Resource Protection, I can't remember what this is called. Gosh, my head is. Anyway, the grant for the boardwalk, part of the Wigan Farm boardwalk, they paid for, gave us $3,520, so we got that. Let's see, what else? Then we go on to, we have some, so just to remind, we still have some approved things. You know, we have 130-some thousand, but we have 13,000 that is allocated to the Mitchell project, which is probably going to close early fall. We did commit 5,000 of seed money to the Ash Swamp Road project. I think we still have the outstanding John Herman bill we haven't paid for his t-shirt design.
I will clarify that Carol is just waiting for his W-9,
Yeah.
and he's aware that the year closes June 30th.
Oh, yeah.
So
Sorry.
that needs to be, he and Carol are fast-tracking that.
Yeah. And then we approved $15,480 for the Rosa project. So those are things that we've approved to be spent. And then we have some new requests. We've already talked about two, and we'll talk about the others, I think, not yet, or, yeah, a little bit later in the agenda.
I have yours all kind of bundled together. So
Okay.
we're talking about L-chip,
Okay.
Land and Water Conservation.
We can do the,
Well, what makes sense? I've got you for Land and Water Conservation,
well, let's do the Turtlefest.
Turtlefest report, okay.
The Turtlefest report. So I had sent out a memo, but the t-shirt sales, total t-shirt sales were $2,859 for Turtlefest, and the local business sponsors was $1,750. So we raised $4,609 from Turtlefest, and our expenses totaled $1,766.96. So our net income was $2,842.04. And in the memo, and the Stone Church raised $1,342 for New Hampshire Turtle Rescue. So that's pretty cool. And we were going to make a donation to New Hampshire Turtle Rescue because they did essentially two programs, one at the library and one at Turtlefest itself. And so I thought, I know there was a goal of $2,000 for New Hampshire Turtle Rescue, so if we gave $658 from our net income to New Hampshire Turtle Rescue, I thought that would be a nice donation to them. Do we want to do that first,
we
or
could
go through the rest of the Turtlefest stuff?
Do all the three suggestions. And we can-
So we also had put, actually, this scholarship under the Turtlefest net income, because they do a lot of wetlands education and so forth at the SELT camp, so we thought that kind of fit. And then the library, again, has been a great partner, and they have these nature kits backpacks that go out with the kids, and so we brainstormed with them about getting some binoculars and bird information for there, and they have the backpacks, and so those would go into that because we're trying to generate more interest, and we have a lot of people getting interested in birds and so forth. So we thought those would be nice ways to spend some of the net income from New Hampshire Turtlefest. So we estimated, is that $550 still sound right
That's
to you,
stagnant,
Chris?
yeah.
Because you looked at that.
Static, not stagnant.
Yeah. So those were the two, besides the camp scholarship we've already approved. And that would still leave, if we did those three things, that would still leave over $1,300 in net income from Turtlefest. So we can save that for, well, buying the turtle signs and, you know, getting things underway for next year. So. And then are you still planning to order more t-shirts?
Yes, in fact, they know the breakdown of, Lamprey River knows the breakdown of the sizes that we'd like. They're just waiting to say, yes, we'd like to get 24 more, which the Turtlefest Planning Committee had talked about. There's already 8 were requested, and we didn't have those sizes anymore. So with 8 requested, we'd have a few on hand after the 8 requested are fulfilled.
Yeah, so even though the event's over, there seems to be this pretty strong interest still in getting a t-shirt. I think we probably can still sell them, at least make our money back from printing the t-shirts.
Well, yeah, 8 would make the money back, and
Yeah.
the rest would be gravy from the
Yeah.
24.
So we can back up and maybe one at a time, if your thoughts about the $658 donation to New Hampshire Turtle Rescue.
A motion to put $658 toward New Hampshire Turtle Rescue.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion. Voting. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. So you'll interface with Carol how to get that
Yep.
donation to them all? All right. The Camp Atlas Scholarship, we did already. And
Yep.
again, I'll let Lizzie know that we voted on it, and Ellen can figure out with Carol how to get that to Lizzie. And purchase of binoculars. This really fits with the library. They have a telescope, so they need binoculars. So it kind of fits with their slowly plodding away at the library of things approach to things. So do I have a motion to spend $550 for 2 pair of binoculars and maybe another couple of bird ID type things?
I would make a motion to buy binoculars or spend $550 to get binoculars and maybe a few bird ID things.
Okay. 2 pair of binoculars.
Okay.
We'd like nice binoculars.
Yeah.
Nice binoculars.
Yes, absolutely. 8 by 42.
Yeah, that's the key part of it right now.
I'll second.
Okay.
Discussion though?
Any more discussion about this?
Are you taking care of that purchase?
I could, if you want me to. We want me to? I can.
I don't want to do it, so it's in your camp.
I can't wait. Yes, and I'll figure out how to interface with Carol again to get that bought and paid for. Thanks for the opportunity. I think it's really important, and I do think it will fit with adults and kids and families and all kind of people getting them out.
Is that a backpack like you can rent from the library? And
Yes and no. They've got a bunch of backpacks that they do, they call them nature, they have all kind of things in them. Thematic stories with crafts and whatnot. So they have the backpacks. We were interested in getting the binoculars and the ID material, and they're going to do with them what they do with them.
okay, yeah.
But yeah, the kids can check them out. There's no cost to checking out.
No, there's no
kids.
cost at all,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I do believe it's going to fit, like, I shouldn't speak for the library, but a kid, a student card holder, there's probably an age limit to go check them out. A student under a certain age can't just go get the telescope. I doubt that a student could just go get the binoculars, but I don't know that for a fact, but I'd rather doubt it due to the cost of it.
And I assume adults too can, because
Yeah, it's just your library card, you just go check them out.
I'm thinking like, we have a bird walk in the future. Oh, if you don't have a pair of binoculars, stop by the library beforehand and they
Right.
have a couple you can
And you also
borrow.
could go so far as to say, the bird walk, the walk is, September 20th.
I could go
Let
get
the
them.
library know that if somebody wants it the 18th, please have them bring it back overnight because you're anticipating a bird walk. They're not going to hold them for a week for something that's September 20th.
Right.
But in the back of their head, they could know,
Yeah.
don't rent it the 19th if you can't get it back to us in
Yeah.
time for this other date.
Yep, yeah, cool.
Okay, so we had a discussion, now we voted on it?
Yes.
We haven't voted on it yet. All in favor to spend this $550 toward binoculars and bird info?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous, thank you. Okay, that leaves the balance of the funds, as she said, for, oh, T-shirt printing, we should vote on that. That pricing is going to be, I don't have the exact number. If it's 24 and it was roughly 10 each,
I would just say it's essentially pass-through money, so I
Yeah.
would say you're going
we're
to
going
give
to
you permission to buy
make a
up to
second
24
order of 2 dozen
or-
shirts
Yeah.
from Lamprey River.
So I'd make a motion to order 2 dozen more Turtlefest shirts to be sold.
Gotcha. Second for that motion?
Second.
Discussion, Jeff?
You don't have to tag them not to exceed amount, just something to.
I don't think so, because we've already bought shirts there, so,
You could just, you just said 2 dozen, just say for the purchase of 2 dozen.
That sounds good, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is that clarified, is that good? You good with
Oh,
it? Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't have to put a not to exceed.
Yeah, right. And these are not the Gold LeMay T-shirts, these will be the kiwi green, just like duplicate, a reorder of our existing order.
Sounds good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous, thank you. All right. Yeah. Yeah, busy.
There's more to come.
All right. Then we come to staying with Ellen. The next one I had up for you is, I guess, either the new budget memo, the 3 proposed things
We
that
can do
you'd
that
like
later.
us-
You want to just go through the, like, the master plan and then the committee reports, and then we can do that stuff later? Down,
You want to do all 3 of those later?
yeah, because that's under treasurer's updates down below.
Okay. Master plan, any development there, Ellen?
No, they're working on the recreation chapter. Planning board, you can talk about it, because I don't know what the planning board, so, yeah, we didn't meet this month, we're meeting next month. I think the recreation chapter and land use chapter will be on the agenda.
Gotcha. I can well imagine that the rec department with Rec Connect and getting ready for summer camp, there's probably out straight, and I hope this is the next thing to percolate to the top there.
Yeah, the good thing is that Bart reached out to actually Drew Keypaper
Oh,
and
good.
Lizzie. Excuse me, actually I suggested them because to get a little broader
Yeah.
perspective on recreation, because we know it's more than
Yeah,
the active sports stuff.
good, that'll be some really nice input there.
Yeah, yeah. It was good. We
Thrilling.
talked about trails and, yeah.
Thrilling. All right, committee reports. Brian, town council.
Yep, council met on the 4th. Only thing I think would be of interest is that the library feasibility study was passed, so they're looking to try and expand their space. They have some constraints, and they're just going to be taking some money, take $35K out of their library capital reserve fund, hire some people to come, look at ways they can add more room to the space. The 300th committee met yesterday. Let's see, there's nothing really coming up at the moment. We are, yeah, nothing really that applies to this, but we did put $500 in for those library murals, but since those aren't happening anymore, that just came back. And on the 18th, at the next town council, there will be the Broadside project, where a declaration by Wentworth Shaswell about the founding of the town will be presented to town council. John Herman was behind that, and if anyone wants to come and watch, that is on the 18th. And yeah, that was it. We're pretty light. It's pretty late in the summer, so.
Thank you. And I do want to thank Brian, because at the last meeting, I had asked him to find out about the budget cycle. When did we have to do what, where, and when, by when? And I would really ask you now, if you know that you cannot make our July meeting, to let us know now, so that we can really make sure we talk to each other and ensure a quorum for the July meeting, because that's when we really should approve the budget, if we want to take a summer hiatus and not meet in August, because Bart will need this by September 11th, and our meeting is the 15th, and that's just cutting things, he needs it by the 15th, our meeting is the 11th, and that's cutting it way too close. So we should get this approved in July, so that he has it, and you know you won't be here. So in another scenario, if enough of us know we can't do the July meeting, we could find another time in August. to meet, based on people's August schedules, but maybe Jeff might be the only one who knows he can't be here in July. We'll figure that out, but keep it in the back of your head that it will be an important meeting for the budget, and as well, I was going to mention it later on, but we will have a guest speaker, who it should be very exciting, talking about an initiative that affects the whole seacoast, so. Okay, there's that. Next, Ellen, still on you.
No, planning board, over to.
Yeah, okay, sorry, Mayor Abbott here. Okay, Jeff, sorry, planning board.
We met Tuesday of this week, and we had I left my packet in my car, actually, which had most of my notes on it. We had a special meeting prior to our normal business meeting to discuss the environment, energy chapter of the, that's what I recall, if it's just the energy chapter, if it's the environment, energy chapter.
I think it's the environment.
Yeah, environment, energy chapter of the master plan. Spent an hour discussing that. I believe he's the chair, Joe, spoke to us a little bit about it. We discussed it. There weren't a lot of changes to it that we discussed making, really, at all. So it's not really, we didn't move it on so Bart's going to accept comments over email for any changes. But as we only reviewed content, and everybody was pretty happy with the content of it. I was based on it was very energy centric. It was purely energy centric. There was no environment besides the impacts of using various types of energy. There wasn't much about the environment and waste, which is something I know that committee focuses on. So, I mean, that was like my biggest comment was like I don't see anything about recycling, composting, that sort of thing. But Bart said that's mostly taken care of in another chapter anyway. So I don't know if you guys had input on that other chapter or not.
I do remember just that Bart said it's in another chapter. That's what Lindsay would keep telling us at our meetings when I was on energy and environment when we wanted to tackle trash. She said that's handled in,
It must be in the facilities.
Yeah.
Facilities
Something like
chapter, yeah, probably in facilities.
Yeah, so I don't have a lot to report on that. Besides that, there may be more comments, but nothing was substantively spoken about at the meeting that would broadly change it. There was a little bit of discussion that there's some tables in there about EV vehicles that don't make a lot of sense. And like to present to the general public, because the numbers were kind of seemingly based on not scientific, really, because it's like we think there's about this many. So we're like, do we want to present that to people? And we think there's that many, because we don't really know. And there's sort of a strange anomaly in the numbers. So I think that was one of the bigger suggestions, to maybe remove that, and some statistics are addressed in appendices that maybe they shouldn't bog down the dialogue and what they're talking about. But it was nothing like, what are they talking about? It all made sense. The big thing that would be of interest to the commission that we did discuss, and again, I don't have my notes, they're outside, so I don't know the address of the property, but the property on North Main Street, adjacent to Schottmeyer Park, that had some septic issues. That landowner was there to present his plan as a solution to the problem, and after much discussion, we ended up conditionally approving it. There's a few things that they didn't really talk about. There is a minor wetland impact. I believe it's like 78 or 79 square feet of wetland buffer, 25-foot buffer from a poorly drained wetland. Is going to be impacted by, there's like on the adjacent, their solution, I don't know if the commission's interested, I don't have to go on, or I can. I know that the leak, and I went by there the other day in a kayak, and I could smell, on the river, I could smell it. So I don't know, if folks are interested, I could kind of explain a little bit about it, or I don't have to get too into it.
It was basically, he has to hook up to town sewer, right?
Yeah, and it's a not the ideal way to do it at the view of the board, but it's a solution to a problem, and it can happen pretty quickly. And so, that was my perspective on it. Like, it's not the best, but hey, it gets this thing
Get it
done
done.
now. And it's not going to take 6 more months to get through. For a minute there, I thought for sure it had to come to the Conservation Commission for review because of the wetland buffer impact. But the wetland buffer impact was not over 12,000 square feet. But then I said, well, it's within 150 feet of the Lamprey River, but it actually has to meet some other criteria to then be pushed to the board, to the commission, like it has to be still over 12,000 square feet. So I thought that was kind of astonishing, like you can disturb or that 12,000 square foot is for utilities and driveways. And I thought it was kind of astonishing that you could impact a quarter of an acre of wetland buffer without input from the Conservation Commission, right adjacent to like a major water body even, or so I think that there's multiple deficiencies kind of in the wetland ordinance that we have, the wetland overlay district regulations in there, and I think I've discussed amending some of them with Bart and changing some of them. I think that, and I mentioned this at the end of our meeting when I gave the conservation report. I was like, our meeting's this week, but this is kind of astonishing to me that you can disturb a quarter of an acre with a driveway wetland buffer without any input from the Conservation Commission. And I was like, I'll add this to the list of items that I would like the board to eventually address on the ordinance and the buffer regulations. So I don't know if the commission thinks that makes sense or it doesn't.
Well, thank you for having this hat in mind when you were at that meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the goal of the liaison is to make sure
To
things
liaise.
that should be, and come to the commission for input and bring the input of the commission back and forth. So, if folks think that that's a good idea to kind of pursue a change to that, I'm not sure what the square footage should be. To me, it should be almost any, because not every board thinks of everything, so we're like, oh, well, silt fencing, and then the person argues, well, why do you need that? It's only going to be open. It's like, well, if it's got to be open for, 2 days, you could have a thunderstorm in the middle of summer, it could wash all of your soil into the wetland buffer area, So, it was a good discussion. So I don't know if the commission thinks there should be, we can discuss it some other time, but.
But you are working with Bart on reviewing the whole,
So a few months ago, we reviewed some, I met
Yeah.
with them, we kind of went back and forth a little bit, and then really haven't moved much on them recently. So,
yeah, it seems to me anything in that overlay should be reviewed to see if it's still good or if we should tighten it up.
I'd be
Yeah.
curious to see if there is anything else out there, other towns, how they protect
gonna
their
say other
buffers.
towns.
yeah, and I had brought up the whole buffer to the buffer, right?
Yeah.
Because you
Right.
get people that
I remember
design
that.
stuff right up to the buffer.
Yeah.
And that was a mixed discussion at the planning board, as to, if there would be support, or if that's the best way to tackle that issue. So,
As members of NHACC, that could be a Barbara Richter question too. Find out from her what she knows about, this buffer to the buffer thing is.
that exists in
It
other
it
towns.
certainly does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
'cause
think she would know a
there's
lot about
setbacks to the buffer.
legislation, she'd know about what town did what town did what and couldn't accomplish what town had the issue and did accomplish it and how.
Yeah.
NHACC could be a great resource for a topic like that.
So it seems that you have the buffer to not be touched, that in my mind, putting the buffer, that's now part of the wetland, because it's the buffer to the
Right.
water source, yeah. So we need a buffer to the buffer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is close to the prime wetland offset from the river, but it's like just outside it. It's like the spoils shouldn't get into the prime wetland buffer. It should be within just the regular wetland buffer, the poorly drained wetland buffer. Again, it's 75 square feet. The alternative would have been a lot more buffer impact, but there's already a driveway there, so it's like, but there's something to do with the state. So he's actually has to cross his lot and go to he owns 2 adjacent lots, so he's running up to the next lot and then out to the road to not have to put another attachment across 108, because supposedly the state will not let him. And then the line from the house, just so the commission knows if somebody wants to bank this in a line for down the road, the connection from the house out to 108 runs basically in a wetland. So there's like a 4-inch or a 4.5-inch pipe from the house out to 108 buried within buffer and within wetland itself. So I asked if that pipe had been inspected, if they did a video inspection to know to adding more flow to it. Is it gonna fail soon, that pipe, you know, how
Yeah.
old's the pipe? And they
What's the
hadn't
age
done-
of it? We don't know
Yeah, they
that.
hadn't done any inspection. I think it was installed in the, I wanna say the 90s at some
Oh.
point. I don't know if it was early or late 90s. It's not like 200 years old or something crazy like that, so. It's probably PVC or something, which doesn't last forever, so. So there could be an issue, twice the flow down the future. It's big enough to handle it, but again, it was an immediate solution, so.
It was a thorough and comprehensive report from planning board. Thank you for all of the details.
Well, it had something to do with the commission this week, this month.
Yeah, yeah. No, it does, so. So is there action to be taken to find out more? What do you feel was the next step, knowing this was quote-unquote only 75 feet, but what about the buffer to the buffer? What about?
Yeah. So that's just my thing. Like nobody else on the planning board is like, I'm going to work on these regulations. So I have a marked up set of them that I marked up while I was discussing with Bart while I was sitting there talking. So it's a matter of marking it up a little more, and then I could present it or send it off to someone else in the commission to look at. I would like commission input before anything is brought back to Bart.
Would it help to have an endorsement for us to say, yeah, we want you to work with Bart on reviewing this overlay district, and whatever recommendations we will review and put forth to the planning board? Seems like you need a little support.
It could. I mean, Bart's definitely into it.
Yeah.
So Bart is supportive.
Yeah, I know it.
It's and I'm not saying that the planning board's not supportive. I just don't think it's something anyone else is really
That would
interested in
know about
pursuing.
it,
Right, yeah.
So
I like the idea of the letter of support, and that way you can feel more supported.
okay, sure.
Or just a vote to say, yeah, or, consensus, we endorse, we review, and we look forward to seeing recommended changes that we can look at.
Oh, we did also. We reviewed the prime wetland report briefly. A very
Okay.
brief discussion on the prime wetland report. Bart has yet to begin notification of abutters and landowners affected by the. So we made sure that people affected by the changes and people's lots who are impacted by them or the buffers to the furthest buffer extent. So I believe it's 150 feet. So any lot that's within 150 feet of the new prime wetlands and any lot that's had an impact change plus or minus will be notified of that first reading, I believe, which will eventually end up at the town council. I think there was only, it was like short, if you have comments, bring them to the next meeting, and then we'll
All right.
I think we have a public hearing, maybe. I don't recall. There was some stuff from Pelham in there that folks focused on a little bit because they were confused. They're like, wait a minute, that doesn't look like Newmarket. So I think Mark has some touch-up to do.
Yeah, okay. Did Bart make note of that, or?
I believe I'm sure he did, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, he was there.
Happened.
So
So-
sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
Back to it just popped into my head. I didn't want to zoom in.
Yeah, that's okay.
So, I mean, a letter would be fine.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Ellen, would this be something that you can do a skeletal draft and interface with Bridget about? Or what would be the flow of getting this kind of letter into the correct
Do you
pathway?
need a letter, or is it just a vote now to say we support, we support our view of the wetland overlay district?
There you go. So
With Jeff as a lead, and we look forward to seeing the recommendations.
would that be sufficient for you to feel sufficiently supported?
I think it comes up barely short. No, just kidding. It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
I don't think we need a letter, it just seems like.
Yeah, no,
overkill.
I think that's actually not a bad idea because then it's known that it's not
Yeah,
just
you can
being
present that back
done
to
in
them.
like.
Yeah.
No, you're wearing the hat
presented to
representing the
people and they're
commission's
like, no,
opinions here.
We don't want,
All right, so that's a motion item.
Yeah, motion
So it's
to-
officially in the minutes
Yeah.
here.
Can I vote on it? I must be able to, because I support the review.
Yeah, sure, I think so.
We all support the review.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Okay. So do I have a motion to?
The motion is we support,
It's a verbal motion to verbally support Jeff as the representative from Conservation Commission to Planning Board to further the changes necessary in considering the buffer to the buffer.
No, I think it's just to review the wetlands
The
overlay.
wetland
district
overlay,
and
that's the right word,
Make
yeah.
any recommendations back to Conservation Commission and Planning Board.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Second. I'll second.
Consensus here, okay, thank you. Jeff seconded it.
Yeah.
We all agree. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
Anything else from that? No?
Nope.
All right, Riverfront Advisory remains empty. School liaison,
No,
Emma.
E&E is empty, Riverfront Advisory is still Sam Kenny.
you have something from Sam? No, I meant empty, like there's nobody here to talk about it
Yeah, oh,
tonight.
right, yeah, but we should, I mean, somebody should report back. We should have Sam report back.
Want me to send him an email and ask him what's up?
Yeah,
Okay.
And there's an email report, right? Don't have to come to a meeting.
Okay. Maybe I can look at who else is on Riverfront Advisory and see if they have like minutes or meeting reports or
And
something
Dale
else
Pike
as well.
is very involved.
Okay, back to Emma.
Hi.
Hi there, thank you for being here and for the breaking news is Emma's gonna be our student rep again, so.
Yeah, so tomorrow is our last day of school, so the past couple weeks we've just kind of been winding down, kind of figuring out what we're going to do with everything that we're doing this year. So as I've previously mentioned in a couple other meetings, we have started growing seeds inside our school as kind of a way to keep our school green even in the winter months when it was kind of harder to do such things, even though because outside was so cold. So we distributed all the seedlings that we had grown throughout the winter to all of our different club members to take home. I personally just planted basil this afternoon in my backyard. So hopefully it doesn't get sunburned and it'll grow healthy so I can make basil and pesto and everything like that. So that is what we've kind of been doing with the seeds. As of planning throughout the summer, we are planning on continuing a kind of extensive watering schedule for the trees that we planted last year to ensure that they grow healthy, they grow strong. We're going to kind of recorrect the way that they've been growing because a few are growing a little crooked. But for the summer it's kind of hard because of participation. Everybody's doing everything else and not a set up schedule, so there's not much that we do outside of school. But we did plan ahead for the next school year to kind of have ideas of what we want to do in the fall and towards the spring. So in the fall, we plan to continue our roadside cleanups, to kind of clean up our streets and everything like that. It's a really good participation activity for a lot of people to get their hands dirty with picking up the streets and just keeping the areas around the school clean and walking distance, and just a great way to get outside and everything like that. And then we are also planning on raising our water barrel that we have. So we have a water barrel right by the entrance of the school, but because of the weight of the water, it's kind of sinking into the ground because it's such a wet ground that it's on. So the bricks that it's on are kind of sinking into the ground. So we have to raise it up so that's more accessible to everything, because right now you have to take the bug netting off to even get any water because it's so low to the ground. So that's something that we're trying to fix just for more convenience for everybody. It helps us. And then following the rain barrel, we're kind of doing it because we want a way to water the gardens that we're going to be doing. So when our environmental club was first created by a student, they created gardens outside of the schools. And in past years, it's kind of been in the back of our minds, not really been a big concern. So one of our focuses this upcoming year is to kind of stay centered at school and just kind of see what more we can do at school. And one item on our bucket list is redoing the gardens, just kind of keep it green, keep more student involvement, keep schedule with it, watering and everything like that, just to make it more hours than it was past, like the past members of our club. So yeah, just kind of planning and figuring out what we want to do next year and just kind of keep it centered to our school. We also just distributed the rocks that we painted with environmentally friendly paint, just to kind of just liven up our school a little bit more. But yeah, that's all we have.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And you, how many, is it going to be like a JV building year because your varsity team has left, or what does your student population look like for club membership for next
Right now,
year?
we have about 50 members in our club,
Oh,
which
good.
is really great for our school, seeing as, so.
That's kind of everybody.
Our school is really small. We have about 250 kids in our school, so having a fifth of that population just being solely in our club is really important to us. A lot of it is our officers, so me included, and our president Magnolia Redmond, and there's about 6 of us with our advisor, Katie Bazell. We work really closely every week. We meet every week before school at 6:30 a.m. meetings, which I love so much, and we kind of just work really closely to plan together. But as this whole student population, like in our club, we try to do big group involvement so that everybody's able to participate. It's not just that close-knit group of officers that are able to do it. But it's a really open club. It's really available to middle schoolers, high schoolers, whoever is interested in joining. And it's a really great way to just actively participate, but not having to commit to so much unless you are looking to go above and beyond and become an officer. And so I think that's a really great part of our club, and it's just a great way to have community service, interact with our school community and our town community at the same time. I mean, cleaning up the streets is a really cool way of interacting. And yeah, I think it's just a great way to see everything around us.
It's very rewarding to see.
Yes.
It was messy, now it's clean.
Yeah.
Seedling, plant.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Even
Lovely
if you
cycle.
don't think it will. Even just picking up one street just looks so much better and just makes you feel good.
Well, at the recent Rec Connect event, it was very fun to show a picture of you at the Rec Connect event and be able to say this was our student liaison, and you had told me that you were going to do it again, so I thought, so I said it there, that you were this liaison this year and that you were going to continue.
Yes.
And it was really fun to have the school superintendent there and be able to have him say, oh, one of the students, so. And it's a lovely picture of you. It was standing by your booth at Turtlefest, in fact.
Perfect. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to have the student reps. I hope it catches on in ways that's possible with other boards or commissions,
I do
if not
too.
in Newmarket, but in other towns. They might hear that we have you and they want to do the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Of course.
Any other updates from anybody pertinent to these kind of reports?
I'll just say I had 14 students at Newmarket Cares Day on the 23rd at Heron Point, and that was very successful. A lot of repeats from the year before, so that was fun. Yeah, it turned out it didn't rain as much as we thought it was going to, so
Oh, boy.
it's great. She did a great job.
Okay, now we're back to Treasure here with Rosa Property Update.
Okay, so let's see, I'm trying to think when we last met. So Bart and I went to the Lamprey Advisory Committee meeting. I think that was after our last meeting, can't remember. We asked for $100,000 and they gave us $100,000 for the Rosa project, which was very exciting
rewarding,
and very impressive because that's a very large sum of money even for them. So it just shows the importance of the property to the Lamprey River, Falls Brook watershed and so forth. And I think also speaks to the collaboration we've had over the years with LRAC, so very supportive of our work. Yep.
Does that change though? We're going to ask for a warrant article.
Yeah, so $100,000 was in the budget
Oh, as the ask.
as the ask for
Oh, okay,
LRAC.
so it was already in there, okay. I
Yeah,
got
it was
you.
already in there, right. So we asked for $100,000, they gave us $100,000, so that's one piece of the overall budget that we're looking for. And of course, we've committed the $15,000 plus. We're looking at a warrant article for next spring. The L-chip application will go in probably Monday or Tuesday. So that's about, we're asking for $75,000 from L-chip. And then I submitted one to Fields Pond Foundation for $20,000. It was at $30,000, can't remember. Anyway, we won't hear from that until the end of summer, and L-chip is sometime in the fall. And we'll apply to Moose Plate in the fall as well. And then also Great Bay Resource Protection Partnership will have another grant round as well. So we're, the LRAC thing was huge in terms of showing, we're raising the funds. And Bart is working, and Ben from CELT and myself have been working with our town attorney and the Rosa's attorney to draft and sign the purchase and sales agreement. So there's still some back and forth in terms of some things that we wanted, some things that the Rosa's wanted in the contract. But hopefully that will be signed in the next few days or early next week. Any questions about the Rosa project?
Very constructive, thank you.
Yeah, it's going well. So I can keep going on the stewardship stuff. So we have a bunch of stewardship things I wanted to talk about. A couple maps I put up in your packet. So the one on the right is the Falls Brook watershed. So if you look in the center is the Audubon Clocks property, and just to the left is where the ROSA project is. But one of the things we've talked about for a couple of years is, I wasn't going to do this one first, but here I am. So the orange are town properties, and the Piscasic River Loisel has the trail, and then the Audubon property has the trail. To the north of Piscasic River Loisel is the Carolyn Drive open space and the waterworks along the Falls Brook, and then Rousseau, Leahy, and Zazik, which we town bought. And you'll see that the waterworks continues, our ownership continues into Durham. And so one of the things, and once we do the Rosa property, it would be really, one of the things we want to do is look at what's the trail connectivity possibilities. But to think of that, we also should do like a natural resource inventory to figure out where the ecologically significant areas are. So you can do that at the same time, do a trails analysis and the NRI, natural resource inventory, at the same time. So really what I want to just present, there's a couple steps that would be involved with this, I think. One is that we would want the council we want to present, I think, this to the town council to say, you know, we want to do this, but we really want to consolidate those other town ownerships into like a Falls Brook conservation area. Like we don't want to go down this step if those lands are going to be used for something else, which they really can't be because they're kind of conservation lands. But we want to sort of get that endorsement that, you know, let's create this conservation area, and these are the two missions: to protect ecologically important areas as well as look at trail connectivity. The waterworks property and the Carolyn Drive property may need some additional boundary survey work. So there's a cost to that. The problem with survey work is that nobody will give you a grant for it. You'd have to pay that out of town funds. And so we'd have to think about the cost for that. And then the natural resource inventory itself and the trails analysis, we could go out and I think be pretty successful at looking for grants to fund that, which could be, that kind of a project here would be probably $20,000 to $30,000. So I am not really looking for any funding support right now. I just want to see if you think this is a good idea. If so, we would probably like create a memo to you know, Bart and the town council and say, this is what we're thinking about out here. These are the steps we think are involved. Would you support this kind of thing?
From a planning perspective, I don't think that the land's ever going to be sold by the town and then developed, because it's probably, like, access is extremely difficult to anything that might be developable. Unless they tried to put wells out there, I think it didn't work for one reason or another. They built that road on the north side of the brook, and then they drilled a few wells, and they never developed them for one reason or another. And obviously, they looked for water again in other places.
Yeah, I think that's out, and I should say Bart has talked to Sean, the head of the water department, and he is okay with it becoming conservation land, so he has no, he doesn't see any future for those lands as water properties, essentially.
And I think the town years ago assessed it for playing fields or something.
Right, the Rousseau, Zazik, yeah.
And that didn't pan out either?
No.
So I think it's a great opportunity to become a conservation area and have, walking trails or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the master plan process seems to support that in terms of what the public is interested in terms of trails and open space. And the nice thing about that area is it is close to, downtown, or there's neighborhoods there that would really benefit from that. So
I've always thought that was the best aspect of Piscasic Loisel, is that it's a nature trail in town.
Yeah,
basically.
I agree.
And we try to connect into Durham too.
Right, the idea is to also connect in Newmarket, but also then find connectivity into Durham. And if you look at the waterworks all the way where it goes, the most northern of the pinkish orangish color, that in Durham abuts the Rosa piece that we're planning to acquire. So we'll have connectivity in terms of a fee ownership into, into Rose, so we would probably want to collaborate with Audubon because we might want to cross over.
Look at that trail, there's a trail on Audubon that goes all the way to there already. If
Yeah,
you
well,
walk
it's
up-
not a
It's
official
not a
trail.
sanctioned
Yeah,
trail,
yeah,
but it's.
right, so there's,
There's already a
Yeah,
road,
so there's
like an
no
old
trails
road.
on the Smith Sisters?
there is a trail, actually, yeah, there's a trail, it's just that there's no parking,
Okay,
but we should put the trail, there is a trail on that property.
yeah.
Trail.
Yeah, that looks like some great, you could
Yeah.
really have some cool trail systems.
There's some
in there.
opportunity there. They, as I think we've talked about before, they're a little bit under capacity for managing lands, and so they're trying to build up their staff again. So there may be an opportunity to actually collaborate with them on even a bigger natural resource inventory and trails analysis. And they could, bring something maybe to the table.
It's looking like we'll probably have to have some bridges built too. out
I
there.
think boardwalks, bridges, boardwalks,
Yeah,
from a D, they're called
Yeah.
boardwalks.
nice long board.
Is the trail that's there, like the lead line trail, it's commonly or often referred to, that's up on the right, the north side of Falls Brook?
Falls Brook, what do you call
You walk
it?
up there and then there's like a straight line trail that heads north
Yeah, because I think
into Durham. Is that
used
just
to-
mostly over private property, not even conserved? So I think isn't that green property no access, or is it?
Yeah, the fair, yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. No, we'd have to work with Durham, and they'd have to work with those folks who own, because that's, private land. Conserved, but private land.
Yeah, no public access. I guess
Yeah,
is right.
well, yeah, I don't know,
You can walk onto it, but I don't think it's open agriculture.
right. The thing would be to sneak up through that other, there's only one ownership, that big white space is one owner.
Yeah.
They did a big clearing with Fish and Wildlife, or Fish and Game for wildlife habitat up there, so they're interested in conservation.
Yeah.
It comes right up to the Smith Sisters property, right?
Yeah,
There.
yeah.
That was years ago. Is it growing in at all? Is it-
Yeah, it's growing back, yeah. So I guess I'm sort of just looking for, this is,
Yeah.
let's pursue this, and, probably what we'd be looking for is go to the council, get feedback from the council, and then figure out the survey needs. I know we've chatted a little bit about that a little bit, but I think we'd have to decide, do we have to do the whole property? The Carolyn Drive is the one that was given to the town as part of that development, Carolyn Drive. And the deed's a little funky, and the boundaries, not so much next to Audubon, because that boundary's pretty well known, but the boundary around the house that's there, I think we
At
might,
least it's modern.
what's that?
At least it's modern, so you can
Yeah,
you can
right.
figure it out. And mark
Yeah,
it,
yeah. No, better figure out, there might be some encroachments, but that's why we have to do a survey. So. Okay, does it,
It's in line with what you've been working on with
Yeah.
trails and people and
yeah, I
connectivity, so,
think it fits with everything we're doing, so, okay.
Be looking to the town to help pay for, so if we're gonna take, I'm sure it's not a huge burden on the town, so we would take, or the Conservation Commission, I should say, would take, like, not ownership, but
Your responsibility for stewardship.
responsibility for
you know.
stewardship of that property. So you're relieving the town of a little bit of I know it's still the town.
Yeah.
But usually the funds for stuff come out of this. Would the town, you think, help pay for the survey and the natural resource inventory? Because we're kind of relieving the town of the burden, maybe a little bit.
I think we could find grants for the natural resource inventory, and maybe we could convince the town that, can you come up with the money for the surveys? Because we don't really have that, we don't have the ability to get them out of the
Yeah,
conservation fund.
That might be a little bit expensive.
Yeah,
It's not going to hurt, like Karen Point, we just did a little portion.
I
of it.
know.
That's a lengthy boundary.
No, it's a lot.
Yeah.
The only good thing is the Audubon Quox is well-known. Piscasic Gazelle is well-known.
Yeah.
The problem is the Waterworks is not, and the Carolyn Drive, those are the two that are not. The other ones are.
Yeah, they're pretty well, the exterior boundaries are
Yeah.
pretty well known, and if the town's gonna put them all in conservation, they could probably just consolidate it.
Right, you don't
into a
need
single
you don't need
parcel.
all the boundaries.
You
right.
don't need the interior
Right. Mm-hmm.
boundaries unless there's a question about whether or not there's a gap in there somewhere. And you'd still technically should, on the ground, survey the entire length of the boundary, well-known, you should still survey along
Mm-hmm.
it. And I know that when I did the survey work, personally in the field back in the day on the north side of the brook, and I know we found some monumentation back in there. so it's not a blank slate anyway. But it's just, it would take some time, I guess is all I was thinking, so.
Yeah,
Might-
wild, well, I shouldn't, no, I won't, I'm not gonna ask you for a wild estimate. It's not fair. Scratch that idea.
Some,
Some, yeah.
some. Those are
some-
spelled different.
Some large sum,
Yeah, so,
yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out. So it may take us several years to get to it, but maybe there's some incremental stuff.
Got to
we can
start
do.
somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. So it sounds like, just consensus-wise, it sounds like a positive. So then the other one is, the photo on the left is, so that's Packers Falls Road and then Riverbend. And that bigger orange piece is about 3.5 acres, which borders the school property. So the parking lot, you can see the parking lot? In terms of the lower center area of the school. The high school's across the street. And then behind the parking lot, the school owns, that was the old, Carpenter greenhouse, and they owned that land that then extends to the town-owned piece in orange. And so one of the thoughts was, actually Lizzie, who's come up several times tonight, she lives in Riverbend, and she says, there's sort of an informal trail on that 50-foot, essentially that 50-foot strip that comes down from Riverbend neighborhood onto that orange, the rest of the orange property, and then the kids walk over to the school, right?
My friend actually.
There you go. But it's, it's probably just pieces of wood, right? It's not it's not a nice boardwalk. And so my thought was, this seems like a nice, again, the master plan, we're talking about better connectivity, particularly in town. And it might be nice to talk to the school and see if they would, agree to collaborate on, we'd have to look for grants to do a boardwalk, kind of like we did at Wigan Farm. I don't know the distance. I haven't actually been out there to measure the distance, but, and then get a quote, again, from a trails consultant to figure out, we do a wetlands permit and a boardwalk, and then presumably make a trail through the woods out to the parking lot. Does that seem like a,
Yeah,
have you guys-
I know there's at least probably about 5 families that definitely have kids that'd be coming up to the middle school and high school soon that I think would definitely benefit from it. Because as you can see, it's quite a long walk, and if parents aren't available to drop off, I think that'd be really beneficial. I know that kids use it quite frequently right now, so I think that would be definitely beneficial for a lot of
right,
them.
because now they're walking through wet ground or
Right.
it's, it's
And I
different.
know my friend who built it, she just fixed it up this year with a couple planks of wood, but it's definitely nothing like Wigan. It's not like, it's definitely there, but it's not like a formal boardwalk or anything.
So she lives in that neighborhood?
Yeah, she lives right around that loop, right there. It's right, actually right around her backyard. She created it with her dad, I believe, when she was younger, so that she could access the school more, because she was one of those kids who had to walk.
Yeah.
Because her parents weren't available. So I definitely know of a couple kids who use that every day to get to school and stuff like that. So I think it would be very beneficial to do so.
Can you send me their names so that we
Yeah,
can reach out to
definitely. I
them?
can definitely do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the public would use it going the other way. I mean, people.
Yeah,
it wouldn't-
definitely.
it'd
I
be
know
open
it's
to
a good
anybody,
trick-or-treating
so.
street too,
Yeah.
so that'd be a cool way to, like, if we want to do something like that.
Just make it a
make
safer
way to
passage.
Quick way to get to Main Street too. And
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly.
No. So would it be do you think it would be to talk to the facilities person at the school, or would it be Todd Allen? or-
I would definitely recommend, I would say Todd Allen, Mr. Corman, Andrew Corman, and David Riley.
I know David, okay.
I think they would all be good people to talk to. David Riley is our facilities director.
Yeah, I met him at
He kind of just knows everything that's happening with everything over there, so I think that all 3 of them would be very welcome to this idea. I don't think it would be a bad idea. I can give you the name of my friend and her dad. Her dad actually owns Mighty Roots, so I don't think that he would be
Oh.
opposed to that in any way. Chris Redmond.
I know Chris very well.
Yeah, so he's the one who built that, so that's another
Ah.
person who you might want to talk to. So
Connection.
it's kind of a full circle moment, but yeah, so I don't
Absolutely.
think that would be a negative idea in any of their eyes, but I definitely think it would be beneficial to talk to them.
And the Concom donated a bunch of money to help them buy that property,
Yeah.
That property?
where the parking lot is, the Carpenter.
Oh, yeah, right,
Because presumably the trail continues across, right,
yeah.
and onto the,
Yeah, it kind
into
of
the
comes
grass.
out to that where that peak is in the grass. It's not the tall triangle in the back, but it kind of towards the corner.
Yeah, Where that
That's where it
little-
comes out. So it's not too far into the grass. It's more,
Yeah.
it's all in the woods essentially. So.
Yeah, the Carpenter property used to go right up to
Right,
the
right,
barn.
yeah.
So it's-
Okay.
I mean, they were gonna build, is that totally not, I don't remember the results of the survey, and if it, like, was just totally not feasible to build fields over there, is that what they determined? Because that was the original thought as to why we even were involved, and they were trying to buy it to put in fields, and
Yeah.
they ended up building a parking lot.
I think it's wet, but I don't know what they're, yeah. But even if they did fields, I mean, we'd still be
Yeah,
connected to
oh,
the
yeah.
fields, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
More reason we have
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Oh, totally, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
okay. All right, so it's okay if we pursue, again, we don't need any funding yet, just to be able to pursue and talk to the people at the school and maybe get some quotes on what it would cost to actually do the project.
That's interesting, because we used to, when the commission used to talk about the 2 pocket parks, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
little parks, and we used
Yeah.
to go out there and look at them every year, but we never even discussed that other piece.
I know, yeah,
Not
there's
even
no-
once, like, I didn't even know it was a piece of conservation.
There's no signs. It was given at the same time those pocket parks were
Yeah.
part of that subdivision.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to talk about those pocket parks in a second. So,
And there's an access out to Packers Falls Road there, huh?
yeah, there's right away there too. Because I think there was a talk about whether the school buses
Yeah.
would come in
Yeah,
there and
I
come out
remember that.
here or something like that.
But then it's open space.
But it's pretty, it's,
It's 50 feet wide.
I know, but it's, I don't think they wanted to go by, cause that. And I think it's also wet,
Yeah.
so, even though the wetlands only show in one spot. But I think the soils are poorly drained or some version. Okay, so those, let's see, what else I got? I had one more thing. Well, actually, yes, several more things. It's all right.
This memo, you have one more.
I know,
Before we
but
get to
some more stuff came up. So, the Land and Water Conservation Fund is a federal state grant program. And we have gotten several grants in Newmarket over the years from that funding source, one of which was to acquire Shanda Park, or at the time it was called Waterfront Park, to acquire the 3 parcels there. And then Amy at Rec has gotten a couple, one of which, and the Conservation Commission and the Rec Department before Amy, when Jim Hilton was here, I think, got an LWCF grant for the acquisition of Nichols Avenue property, which is the Beanie Field, I think. And for some reason, they bundled creating these signs. These are the pocket parks you're talking about, Jeff, out on Maston Road and Riverbend. And they made these signs. So anyway, the Land and Water Conservation Fund, the state portion, they just hired a compliance person. They've never had one. And so after, decades, they are finally going around the state to determine compliance with these original grants, because there are some things that you're supposed to do or not do. And the interesting thing about the Newmarket ones, at least the conservation-related stuff, Shanda Park and these, we have almost no documentation about what are we supposed to do or not do. So I've asked for that. Anyway, they finally came out. They showed up last Tuesday, and I had been in correspondence with the new compliance person back in January because I was looking for documentation. Anyway, she said, "Oh, we're here in town." I'm like, "Oh, great." So anyway, Bart and I, and Amy was there because they had gone to look. The splash pad rec was also an LWCF grant. So anyway, we spent a lot of time with them at Shanda Park, which was really useful because we were asking them about future grants, not just this past stuff that we've gotten. And it seems quite feasible that the town could apply for LWCF for some of the Shanda Park riverfront kinds of things, as long as they're recreation related. So we talked about improving water quality in Moonlight Brook, the living shoreline, that kind of stuff. And maybe improving, making the boat ramp, I know that's one of the things, and making the boat ramp smaller, and then maybe this raised area to get out of the flooding area. Anyway, all of that is possible. What's that?
Yeah, that park is, Shanda's 100% recreation.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
so.
every last square inch of it's recreation. People
Yeah,
sit at
and-
the tables.
So you can come back for more, you can go back for more money. And it's either, it's from 50,000 to 500,000, a grant, in a grant round. He said probably not this coming year because they need to allocate some money to a certain project, and Bart, maybe in a year or two, the town will be ready to apply for more money. So that was actually very positive. And he thought they would be getting even more money into this program, so that's very beneficial. Anyway, so we didn't really get any feedback whether we were in compliance or out of compliance. plans, but it seems like we're in compliance. And then I couldn't go with them when they went to these pocket parks, but the program director gave me these 3 signs to put on. He says we're supposed to have these signs up. So I went around today, Trini and I, and we put the signs up. I just wanted to give you an update about that.
But otherwise they're in compliance?
I don't know, I assume they're going to send us a report, which
Okay.
they have not yet.
Because the only thing that we ever did at those was trees had fallen down on neighbors' properties, and they were like, get your tree off.
Yeah.
So we had to hire a tree company on one of them to go out there and remove a large pine tree that was broken or something.
There's slightly, there's actually a third, there's a, like if you look at the, hold on, let me go back. So if you look on the left again, you see up at Riverbend where it comes off.
To a laser pointer.
Yeah, it comes off of Packers Falls. There's the little orange park, which is this one of the signs. But then if you go further down, there's another one, and I didn't have a sign for that. So I don't quite know what these parks
There's a
were
little
supposed to
pull-off
be.
there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a pull-up, and
There used to be a walkway
the
down.
town mows it.
There used to be a walkway
There's a
down
walkway.
to the river.
The neighbor kids, I think, keep it open. So for me, these are like neighborhood parks, and we, at some point, I think, should have a neighborhood outreach to say, do you guys want to manage these parks? Because we don't really do that, a very good job with them.
Might
Do
not
you
be a
think?
bad idea to invite them here to see what they might like the park to be like. If
Yeah,
we could
exactly.
facilitate them in any way. Like, maybe they say, we like it the way it is.
Yeah.
Or maybe they say,
know,
it would be great to have a...
Anyway, I just wanted you to update because there was a connection to that area and these LWCF things. So,
There's no association there though either, so we'd
Right.
have to like literally reach out to
Yeah.
send like a butter.
That'd be a neighborhood outreach thing. But if you think about, if we do the Falls Brook thing, maybe part of that process is a facilitated process where like the Regional Planning Commission comes in and does a facilitated process, and maybe that's when we reach out, because these are all, they're sort of all in close proximity to one another, so maybe there's this outreach to this neighborhood about this, but also about what we're thinking about for the greater Falls Brook area. It seems like it all ties together.
It would be neat to have, that part of the river is always like full of down trees and whatnot, but one of them would be a neat spot to drop a kayak in, and otherwise a portion of the Piscasic. It's like the widest, deepest portion of the Piscasic before it dumps over the dam, but it's just often hard to navigate. But you can go from the dam up to the falls, kind of up towards Grant Road, right?
Yeah. It's a wild area, so you have to decide, do you want to,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But,
Like,
yeah.
they may
Right.
say, oh, we want that little,
We want
a
it
little
wild.
area to fish or something.
Right,
like that.
right. Okay.
Ellen, in the memo, you talked the Riverbend and Falls Brook, but the middle one, the bike racks, I don't think you addressed that
Oh,
one.
yeah, so that's it, yeah, so I told you.
I'm feeling that one could be actionable.
Yeah, so at Newmarket Cares Day, it was interesting, we were at a Heron Point, and I was telling the students about the gates locked, the gates locked, we have this problem. And a lot of them said, oh, well, we bike over here. I think they also biked on the trails, but we'll leave that. But anyway, they used to bike over there. But then I got to thinking, well, because it's a long way to walk, maybe the people would want to bike over there, but we don't have any bike racks in any of our conservation areas. So I thought it might be worth thinking about, I thought about Wigan Farm, a bike rack, I thought about Piscasic River, Lizelle, but we could start, Heron Point seems like an ideal place for a bike rack, because there's no way, then you could bike over there from downtown, you get there quicker.
Bike all the way down the driveway.
Yeah. So I just went on the line and looked up a couple different kinds of bike racks just to see what they cost. And so here's 2 versions. One is apparently you can get 8 bikes, and one you can get 7 bikes, and different costs. I think this would have to come out of our conservation fund. I don't think we have. We could go to Lamprey Advisory Committee, but I think it'd be weird just to ask them for a bike rack when it's this amount of money and they just gave us $100,000 for
Yeah, I think we
Falls
could,
Brook.
What about the rec with
How
that?
d-
Right up their alley, because they're the
Yeah.
ones that help buy the
I thought
kayak
about that
racks.
too.
Yeah, I mean, I can
Thank you
ask
so
Amy if
much
she
for
would,
your
would,
prayer.
could pay for this, if that's what we,
Or split it or something.
yeah, maybe that we could split the cost.
how are they affixed to the ground?
I'm not sure. I
The
never
one on
put
the
one
right
in.
looks difficult. The one on the left looks like it just sits there.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. But there's got to be ways, because there's bike racks all over New England that are in
Yeah.
woods and stuff.
I think for the one on the right, we just drill some holes, or it's probably proposed underneath for a little ring, and it just
I
gets
bet so
stuck.
too.
Yeah,
Some
literally
tubes
literally
way
just
down
like a
there.
stake in the ground. so.
I think the pole goes way up in it.
Shannon Park doesn't have a bike rack either, right? Shannon Park would be a good place for a bike rack.
Well, I'd like to see us take action on this and pursue it impetuously, I would say. Let's talk about just buying them and doing it. We need something that shows people, whereas these things we have like big numbers, like 100,000 and this and that and this and that, but this is something that with some research, we can probably have these people using bikes and parking bikes by the fall.
Maybe we could talk to Rec and say, we could buy one for Heron Point, maybe you can buy one for Shannon Park.
And I might want to, maybe there's other places, maybe we need a bit of an assessment, because I don't know if there's a deal if you buy more or
Yeah,
there might, whoever you get them from, might have a deal on 5 or something, and we had 5 spots that the town could use bike racks at, even downtown out in that new little park, or, I don't know.
What do we do, because I'm not sure we're ready to, know which one we want to buy.
Yeah.
What if we just say, I can talk to Amy and check around town to see where we already have bike racks?
Yeah.
I would
And see
talk
if they would
to
partner.
facilities manager of the school district, because Nancy Miller, the phys ed teacher there,
Yeah.
just bought a couple of bike racks for the schools.
Oh,
Yeah, I would definitely talk to her. So Nancy Miller and David Riley are good people to talk to about that if you're looking for the schools. I know we have a couple. I know they're not permanent, so we kind of move them around depending on what's happening at school and stuff like that. So I think they would be good people to talk to
Okay,
as well.
find out what they want. Do you know which
And
kind
they would
bought?
know some ins and outs
I
of.
think we have these ones on the left, just because they're portable, so we can kind of move them. I know when our environmental team hosted Bike/Walk to School Day, it kind of just encouraged people walking and biking to school. We used those and brought them out front so that more people could park their scooters and bikes. And I know that kids who can't drive, a lot of middle schoolers use them all around town. I see them all the time. Practicing safety, sure, but I think it's definitely a great use of money if we do invest in it. I know a lot of kids use that to get around town, especially during the summer months. I think it'd be a really good thing to add.
They could go on their, the town, part of the master plan, they want to do these wayfinding maps. So it would show where bike racks are, where parking is. stuff like that, so.
And talking to Nancy or other people at the school, 'cause they could probably tell you all the secret ins and outs of when it says like disengaged metal or whatever. They know all
Right,
that.
yeah, what to buy.
They also might know, like, this is our vendor, we just bought 6, can you add on 3 more, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I even know that people bike to the Piscasic Greenway in Newmarket, then they just leave their bikes on the kiosk there behind
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know if that would be Selt or us.
That would be
who-
Selt.
Yeah.
Probably. But, okay, all right, so I'll investigate where we already have them, where we might want them, and whether, school rec can get more information from them. Then we can come back in July and see if we want to.
It'd be so fun to do it in July, because I'm just picturing beautiful September day. You have on shorts, but a hoodie.
Is there one at the rail trail down by Ashmont Road?
No.
Because I
Not
think
anymore, it's changed because of the building and the
Okay.
new owner and where you can park and access the rail trail and whatnot.
I think depending on the owners and stuff like that, I think that'd be another good place to put that as well. Depending on if we're able to do that.
All right, well, I'll do a little
Little
intel,
recon.
little recon, bike around town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to put one right near the Miraz trail,
Yes.
so people choose to walk that.
Yes.
Yeah, instead of biking. I know.
Good point.
That is some action on one of your memo items.
All right,
Thank
I have one more I have to add, sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, so as part of the Heron Point Sanctuary boundary survey, there were a couple of places which we completed and all set. There were a couple spots though where the monuments are flush and they're like in grass or they're visible to the community there. And right now they're just marked with grade stakes. And apparently the grade stakes are starting to disappear, which happens if you just rely on grade stakes. But so we don't lose, we paid a lot of money for a boundary survey, and so we don't lose track of where those monuments are, and so the people living there know where they are. There's about, I think there's about 8 of those. The rest are in stone walls and rebar and stuff, so we don't need to worry about those. But these 8, I think, could use more permanent survey markers, and if you look at on the right, Well, the marker in the middle is carbonite, can you explain what it is?
It's
Jeff?
arsenite.
Arsenite.
It's basically fiberglass.
Fiberglass.
And, yeah.
But it's flexible and it's
It's
sturdy.
flexible in one direction, or it's,
Yeah,
not
flops.
lateral.
Right.
And it's, you don't, yeah, I mean, I don't know that you don't want to touch it with your bare hands, because the surface gets a little splintery, and you get some fiberglass splinters from it, which is why I use leather gloves and that driver
Yeah.
for the things. But they last, I mean, they'll last virtually forever.
Yeah.
Because it's like plastic and fiberglass or whatever. They wouldn't, they're just witnesses to the marker, so you can find them later.
Right.
But I don't know, Elle and I were talking, they come in brown as well. And if you have ever been out behind at at the Rockingham Golf Course subdivision that they put in, the Conservation Commission, I believe, asked to have them installed along the wetland buffer boundary. So there's brown ones out there. If you know someone you happen to be, they might be in their backyard if they're on the wetland side. And we got custom decals that say like buffer area. I believe there's like a picture of a leaf or an acorn or something like that. You can get a custom decal you can design on the website.
Oh.
They're not super cheap
No, so they're
at all.
about $33 a piece, plus the decal, which might be, so maybe it might be $40 a piece, $50 a piece. But if you look at, the picture on the right is out at the Nostrum Conservation Easement, so there's a whole bunch of them that were put in as part of that. So those are marking also some buffer
Use areas and stuff.
use areas, and so that's what those look like. So those were, I think, just standard ones bought,
Yeah.
ready-made.
Yeah, those are standard ones that we just bought. And they do ship in from is it Wisconsin? So there's a fair amount of shipping costs.
Yeah. But I think this is something we should do, this is something I think we should do sooner than later, because I think those grade stakes are going to disappear. And so I would suggest we buy,
They're extremely hard to pull out of the ground, even without, so you know how on the website they sell these little anchor things, which make them even harder to pull out?
okay.
It's like a barb essentially. But I tell you, I've had to try to pull a few out before, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe
kind
it's worth buying the anchors.
Okay.
I don't know. They're, if the soil's like wet and soft, it'd probably be easy to pull them out. If it's rocky at all, they start to splinter and they just get completely stuck in the ground.
Okay.
You
We
can't
might want that
remove
kind.
them. So if you think it's going to be in someone's yard that's like manicured, there's not rocks in the ground and a bunch of junk down there to make it difficult to pull out, you might want to get the anchors if you're worried about them disappearing.
So if you think, if one is $32.50, plus we have to add the decals, plus the anchors, plus shipping, what do you think? Are they going to be like $50 a piece?
I think so. We always get the thin line. The thin line ones are the ones that I know the best, and they're usually like, I think they're usually like $72 or something delivered, about approximately.
For one?
And so they're probably about $61, $62.
For one, they're costing out one,
post.
okay.
Were you thinking to put them, so if you go down the driveway on the right-hand side, through the woods there, where there's like the scattered iron pipes and no other boundary evidence over there?
No, so if, sorry, I don't have a.
Only in people's yards, I guess.
Yeah, so if you go, so the three places, what I was thinking, if you go in Meadow Drive off of Bay Road and you take the first left, which is, we don't typically go over there, but if you go over there, around the bend, we have a 50-foot strip that comes out. So that's the area that we don't have any trails in. But there's two that are right in that grass, and those are the ones they're starting to take down. And we kind of need the community to know that's town property right there. So I think those, we should have one there and one there. There's two. And then if you keep going on that road and it bends, there's the private driveway that goes back, and their dumpster for the Heron Point community is right there. And there's two flush lines right behind that. And I think we should, and there's two right in the pavement. It's kind of a funky boundary right there. But then there's two right behind the dumpster, so I thought we should have two there. And then over on the easement into Heron Point Sanctuary, there are 4 corners to mark where the easement is for us to get into Heron Point Sanctuary.
I think it sounds prudent because it ties in nicely to, oh yeah, by the way, we'd like to put some bicycle racks there.
Yeah. The only thing, I like the idea of putting them there. The only thing I just, what the neighbor's saying, I don't want this thing in my yard. Like if it's like literally in someone's yard, and That's why I was suggesting brown instead of the orange is pretty bright. It does get, they
Yeah.
do fade a little bit over time. The orange ones do anyway.
Orange is such a Danger Will Robinson kind of a sign, though.
No, yeah, I was just thinking about the brightness of the,
Yeah.
even the survey marker or whatever you decide to put on the sticker.
Yeah, I mean, we won't have to, we could say, please not, we don't have to say like, please do not disturb or something. We could say, I was thinking we could put maybe the town seal and
Even just-
and say something about boundary marker.
Is it,
Soften
I
it.
think that, I think they would know, even if it was just the town seal, do you think folks would be like, oh, okay? Or do you think it would have to say boundary? I don't even know if the boundary would be required. I mean, maybe. Because you really want it there to find the pipe later. right?
Yeah, that's, yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, we can figure that out. I could talk to Judy, the man, the site manager, and say, we're gonna make these, what we think would be appropriate language. Because sometimes people want them, they have a whole community there, and sometimes they want, we should have that there to show people where the boundary is. Right?
Yeah.
They actually want it there.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. It's just some folks in the yard. I know that when we were installing tags at the, where New Roots was, out there, along there, we were concerned about tags facing, like, on the edges, like, there's a stone wall, and it's like, do we need a tag to say it's conservation easement? It's a stone wall, it's here, they can see it. Like, we need this post here, we're gonna put it there in the yard. They can see it, probably know what it means. Yeah, I guess.
I don't know, well, maybe
I'm not
maybe
opposed
we
to
don't
it
need
saying
them at all. I
boundary.
mean, maybe we
I
don't
just
need
like to
them.
try to be as, like, least
Yeah.
intrusive on people's visual.
I mean, it is a little
pulling
intrusive
in
there.
the
I mean,
driveway.
I guess,
I don't know, if we put a stone on top of them?
Is it, yeah, I guess the purpose, is it you want it there so people see it and they stay off of it, or you just want to be able to find the pipe
I
later?
think it's more we just need to know where it is.
because you lose track of them. Like the four, it's just the ones out at Nordstrom Farm, the four around the exclusion area, we have no idea where they are.
Yeah, so we had a client, I had a client once that put rocks on all of the lot corners in the subdivision. I just suggest if you put rocks there, make sure they're big enough people can't move them.
I know,
And they're not
that's
on
right.
top of the monument itself. They're like adjacent to it.
And they mow it, so then those will be in the way of mowing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I like the idea of having something there because, like, nobody's known those pipes have been there for
Yeah.
30 years probably or
I don't know, I
more.
still think these I don't find them, because I've looked at these out on Nostrum property, they don't seem totally, I mean, they seem fine to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there a way to make it be that the post is not like, when you walk, like, that looks like it's more like eye height? Is there a way to make it just be that fiberglass, that material is on a much smaller post?
Well, that's.
You get a shorter one.
About 60-inch.
There's a 5-foot one,
There's a 5.
and it has to go in the ground, what, a foot?
Maybe 2. Like, it'd stick up like 3 feet.
So then it'll be up 3 feet, so we get the shorter ones.
Yeah, get the shorter one. I think that kind of marries the concern, or the interest you have in property owners, and it's not obtrusive, and the interest you have to protect it, which helps everybody understand each other's viewpoint.
I know at, like, when we did Shopmire Park, we put in the granite posts as part of that project.
Yeah.
And then, there's always the option of getting like a cedar post, and just putting it behind it. Looks more natural and maybe doesn't even need to be, I don't know. I like these, trust me, I set them all the time, they last forever, they're impossible to pull out of the ground, they like check all the boxes. It's just if you're in someone's yard, and not in the woods or something. You don't usually see them like adjacent to the street. I
Okay,
guess, is what
that's a
I'm
good point,
saying.
okay.
It might seem funky, but
What about
if you
just
said, I propose we buy 6 and here's the budget, I would say yes. You know what I mean? I would vote for it.
well, what about just putting in a 4x4 post, pressure treated post? It's cheaper.
Someone could take a saw to either one of those and cut them down, so it doesn't matter. They could cut the scarcenite.
Yeah, they could
So-
knock it over, yeah.
Those things, I will say too, on a street edge, if that thing does get broken up in a snowbank or something like that, it's like a gnarly mess of like splintered fiberglass.
Well, that's good to know, because the two behind the dumpster, is where they put snow. And so they could get damaged. So why don't we go with maybe just 4x4 posts?
Like if you were to install these at Heron Point, all those iron pipes on the right-hand side as you
Yeah.
go down the driveway, I would definitely put them by those. Because they're in the woods.
Yeah, yeah.
And those are hard to find. Like there's literally nothing around.
I mean, the part we didn't survey, in the part we didn't do survey? this
Yeah,
year?
those pipes you and I walked out. And
Yeah, oh, those,
Yeah.
no. Yeah. Okay,
So we're
So-
running a big circle here. What do you
Yeah.
derive from this?
how much are 4x4 posts, pressure treated, like $10?
Remember
20
that
bucks?
one, maybe? I don't know. I bought a bunch of cedar ones, and they're like 24 bucks each, I believe, for a 4-foot, 4x4, no, 4x4 by 8
Cedar posts?
cedar post was like, I want to say it was 20.
Yeah, cedar posts are expensive, yeah. All right, so let's say they're 25 apiece. You said yours it was 20 for a cedar post?
I think they were like 26 or 28.
Okay,
That
let's
was
say
like
30,
actually a year ago.
30 times 8, is that $240? So let's say $250 for some posts for Heron Point, and I'll figure out what kind we want. DPW equipment. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay,
You
makes
can
it
even
easier.
get- And then you can even, if you want, you could tag.
Yeah, we
you
put
could
those
some of
little-
I was
triangle.
thinking little triangles.
We'll put
or-
we have the little boundary signs, we'll put those little, which actually makes it easier, you can do it like that, and do it properly, so, okay, I like that.
I mean, I also have, as you know, on like NRCS's standard is basic green metal fence posts with the wings on the bottom, and then the sign is bolted and the bolts are done.
Yeah.
And like, I like the idea of the posts.
I like the posts better, and if we can get cedar posts and it looks nice, we could do that.
Similar to the UNH trails in College Woods, would kind of look like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The little post with a plaque.
All right, just to give some, why don't we say up to $300, that gives some leeway in terms of costs and picking up all that kind of stuff.
Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion. I haven't made one yet.
A second,
That's-
Okay, any further discussion about cedar posts for boundary marker
or some
protection?
kind of post.
Any motion about something to do something helpful there? All in favor?
Aye,
Okay, that's
Perfect.
unanimous. Thank you.
all right. I think
Thanks
that's
for the
mine.
full circle discussion, because that really feels actually very comfortable from genesis of idea to actuality.
Yes.
All right, I think that was I shot my wad, so that's it.
Okay, gone, Snyder, good?
Good.
All right. So the one thing I did have labeled for Ellen, or for further discussion, I'm going to just drill it in here, is there will be a budget request for the next year out, and we're going to talk about that in July. So please, aside from Jeff, please consider being here or talking before that about you're not going to be able to, so we can come up with something to make sure we get our budget in on time. Okay, so there's treasurer's update. Any new business from anyone? Any closing comments?
Turtles are on the move.
Turtles are actually out there on the move, indeed.
I had
So are
two-
garden gloves. Be really careful of driving with garden gloves in the road.
I had tandem, so, they recommend, that, if you've got sand, you can make a sandy area in your yard, right? So
Yeah.
I've said 100 times here, like we have an old sandbox, we left the sand, and turtles lay eggs there every year. The other morning, there were two snapping turtles this big, about 6 feet apart.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my.
Both laying, they looked like
Wow.
twins laying turtles, like right, and just like
That's cool.
15 feet from our house.
Oh,
The third turtle will lay eggs in that sandy spot this year.
Wow.
wow.
See what happens.
I'm going to put on to talk about in July, when are we going to clean out all those birdhouses at Piscasic River? And a reminder that in July, we will also have 7 Rivers to the Coast giving us a presentation, which they've requested about a half hour. That's the looking forward part of the program here. Anything else? Greater good of the group. Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
So,
Thank you. Jeff seconded Ellen's motion. Any discussion about that? Okay, seeing none. Happy evening, summer weather soon. Hoping for fireflies pretty soon.